Hi, this is Gary DeWall, and this is Bridging the Week, November 18th to 22nd, and today is November 25th, 2013. Good morning. Like many Americans, I have ordered my Thanksgiving turkey and am prepared to sit down Thursday with loved ones and friends to celebrate this annual celebration of appreciation for all we have, and for parades and football games too. And this year, we all get to rush to stores seemingly before dessert to take advantage of sales and mob scenes too. Wow, I don't know about you, I can't wait. Maybe because of this impending holiday in the United States, as well as the beginning of the countdown to Christmas, New Year's, and other celebrations elsewhere in the world, big news involving the financial industry is becoming scarcer and scarcer these last few weeks, including this week. However, there are always some important developments, so let's get going. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange on-again, off-again update of its November 2009 guidance regarding prohibited wash trades was finally deemed approved by the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission and became effective at the CME last week. According to the guidance, a wash trade is a type of fictitious trade in which a transaction or series of transactions give the appearance of bona fide purchases or sales, but in fact are entered into without the intent to take a bona fide market position or to expose the transactions to market risk or price competition. According to the CME, a wash trade requires a quote-unquote wash result, meaning the purchase and sale of the same instrument at the same price or a similar price for accounts with the same beneficial ownership or for accounts with common beneficial ownership. There is no de minimis test for common beneficial ownership. In addition, the intent to achieve a wash result may be inferred from evidence of prearrangement or that the orders were structured, entered, or executed in a manner that the trader or traders knew or reasonably should have known would produce a wash result. Importantly, not only traders can be liable for wash trades, but recipients and executing agents too, such as account executives and floor brokers. This creates a proactive obligation of recipients to question when buy and sell orders are placed for simultaneous execution. They need to ask whether they are for accounts with common beneficial ownership. That being said, the following are not considered wash sales under this new guidance. Buy and sell orders for accounts with common beneficial ownership that are independently initiated for legitimate and separate business reasons by independent decision makers that coincidentally cross, or orders generated by algorithms operated and controlled by different trading groups that again unintentionally and coincidentally cross, provided in both cases there is no prearrangement and neither party had knowledge of the other's order or had intent to cross. However, such trades will be subject to heightened scrutiny. This guidance appears to help proprietary trading groups in which multiple traders make fully independent trading decisions for commonly owned accounts, and all trades are entered into independently in good faith without prearrangement, or generated by algorithms operated and controlled by independent traders. I wrote in detail on this new guidance when it was first proposed early in the summer and then reproposed. Check it out on my website. The European Securities and Market Authority, or ESMA, last week announced that it had issued draft final standards regarding over-the-counter derivatives contracts executed outside the European Union that may have a quote-unquote direct, substantial, and foreseeable effect within the European Union. If such contracts have such an effect, they would be subject to the mandatory clearing and risk mitigation requirements under the European Market Infrastructure Regulation, unless executed in a jurisdiction with equivalent regulation. The draft standards were submitted to the European Commission on November 15th, and now the EC has 3 months to approve them. In general, ESMA recommends that the EMIR requirements apply to OTC derivatives transactions executed in a jurisdiction outside the EU where, 1, there has been no determination that the oversight of the transaction in such jurisdiction is equivalent as under EMIR, and either 2. One of the two non-EU counterparties is subject to an EU financial counterparty guarantee, and by the way, not one necessarily from an affiliate, where the guarantee covers at least an 8 billion euro equivalent aggregated amount, or a proportion of this under certain circumstances, and constitutes at least 5% of the total of the over-the-counter derivatives exposure of the guarantor, or 3. Both non-EU counterparties execute their transactions through their EU branches. Within the draft standards was implicit criticism of the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission and its reluctance to rely more wholeheartedly on non-U.S. regulators for substituted compliance. According to ESMA, in addressing comments submitted to it previously regarding the draft standards, quote, most respondents recognize progress in the international discussions between regulators, including the European Commission and the CFTC Common Path Forward reached in July 2013. However, some stakeholders stress that the commitment to address risks stemming from the OTC derivative market has been undertaken by all G20 members. As a result, they consider that regulators from these countries should rely on each other's more broadly instead of multiplying the set of rules applicable to an OTC derivative contract. Do you hear that down in Washington, D.C.? Separately, J.P. Morgan agreed to a $13 billion settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice, 5 states, and 3 federal agencies related to the sale of certain residential mortgage-backed securities to investors by affiliates of J.P. Morgan, Bear Stearns, and Washington Mutual Bank between 2005 and 2007. According to a statement of facts that accompanied the settlement, each of the firms securitized large amounts of subprime loans and other mortgage loans and sold these loans as mortgage-backed securities during the relevant time. As part of these sales, the firms represented to investors that the loans generally complied with internal underwriting guidelines, when in fact at least some employees of the firms were aware they did not. Approximately $9 billion will be paid as fines, while $4 billion will be paid to consumers in various forms. I wrote earlier this summer an article about the biggest risks facing the financial industry, including potential regulatory exposure. I said that risk was right on top. Sadly, it seems I was right. Check out this article on my website. Some good news: the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission formally obtained a consent order from the U.S. District Court in New York City requiring MF Global to pay $1.2 billion to all of its customers at the time of MF Global's collapse in October 2011, as well as a fine of $100 million. Although payment to customers is expected by year-end, the fine is only payable after legitimate claims of customers and senior creditors in the MF Global liquidation proceeding in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in New York City are satisfied. CFTC actions against MF Global Holdings, John Corzine, and Edith O'Brien are still pending. And last, for those with insomnia who believe they have read everything, the CFTC announced that it would go forward issuing a weekly report that provides 3 views of the swap markets: weekly transactions measured by dollar volume and ticket volume, and by gross notional outstanding value. The information is obtained solely from CFTC-registered swap data repositories, CME Group SDR, DTCC Data Repository, and ICE Trade Vault, and will be as of the Friday 2 Fridays prior. Well, that's it for Bridging the Week this week. Until next week, for those friends in the United States, enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday, and for everyone else, have a great week. See you next week. Ciao.